Hello, hello. My name is Dr. Brian Curtis, and I'm a paleontologist here at Fossil Crates. And it is time for our Fossil Crates Dinosaur of the Year 2025. Wow, can't believe 2025 is already gone. Now, in order to be considered for eligibility to be Dinosaur of the Year material, you must be a new genus. And I don't mean a renaming of a genus that already exists. I don't mean a new species. I mean a net new genus. And it can't be a new combination that makes a new genus. It's got to be something that hasn't been named before. It's not been published on. So that's it. Now, of those, in 2025, by my account, there are 46 new species of dinosaurs that were named in 2025, 28 of which met my criteria of being a new genus. And I have an alphabetical order. We're going to go down the line of the finalists of the 2025 Dinosaur of the Year Award. So let's get right to it. Now, if you know me, you know I study sauropods, and I love to study sauropod tails. So if I had a vote, Astigmasaura is the winner. Okay, we're done. Easiest one we've ever had. It was published in 2025. It was given a name, Bellarmine et al. It's a late Cretaceous Argentine sauropod. And it was actually published a few years prior, images of the femora when it was found, but it was named, so it's still counted because it didn't have a name before. I'm going to use my cursor and bring to your attention the wild neural spines going on in here. Can't wait to see this one in person. So we're going to dig into the document a little bit. It's found in Argentina, and it is absolutely cool. They found the tail in articulation with the chevrons. You can see the quarry map, and this is their skeletal. And they found the complete hind limbs. Now, this is a pretty popular configuration to find sauropod dinosaurs because there's so much fleshy, muscular mass hanging out at the back end that keeps it all together. I was surprised that the sacrum itself wasn't discovered. I like this illustration in the paper a lot. It's the only one that does this. They figure the autapomorphes, the characters that make this unique dinosaur, the characters unique to this dinosaur. And I really enjoy this, and I'm going to be borrowing this, Bellarmine et al. Thank you for the great, great illustration, because this was wonderful, makes life easy. Again, close-up of the tail to see the articulation and the caudals with these wild spines, maybe pathological, I don't know. What caught my eye right away was the chevrons. We're working on a really cool animal whose chevrons are in articulation. Can't wait to compare them to this. They then do nice schematics. So they take the photos and then they draw your attention to all the laminae that may not obviously pop in the photo. So let's look over here, for instance. And you really can't see these foramina. So they draw the foramina for you. Very cool. I love this. As you go back into the middle of the tail, they call out the chevrons. And the wild thing is the chevron just ends up like a blob. They call it star-shaped, but that's being poetic. It just looks like a weird mass of bone. They had me at tail. They reconstruct the musculature of Astigmasaura, which I think was really cool. There are other bones to it. They have the pubis, they have the ischium, they've got the femur, and there's the pubis, standard dinosaur, fair. We have more femora, tibia, fibula. You've got the toe bones, you've got the metatarsals, the phalanges, you've got the claws. I mean, the whole thing is here. This is a treasure trove of information, absolutely exciting. And Astigmasaura certainly made Astigmasaura earned its way into the finalists. And again, it gets my vote 100% being a sauropod and a tail. But as you saw me accidentally preview, there are more animals from 2025 that merit great consideration. For instance, Duonychus. Are you kidding me? Look at this beautiful animal. Kobayashian crew described this late Cretaceous Mongolian therizinosaur with 2 fingers. It's got some nice dorsal vertebrae. It's got part of the pelvis. But what makes this animal pop is its hands. So it was found in Mongolia. There's the China border of Mongolia. And it was found over in here. But they find sites, as you see. There's lots and lots of dinosaurs in Mongolia. Here they are. Here's the hands. So you see this third little cute metacarpal here, showing that it does not have 3 fingers. It just peters out. And you've got these gorgeous, complete, beautiful elements. Stunning. They show range of motion, how big and high the fingers could go back and push down. I love this hand. You see they've labeled the bones nicely. You can see what you're looking at. They have a keratinous sheath, and that blew me away. So here's the bony core, and then the keratinous sheath was preserved. Mind blown. This has got to be one of the largest claws for which we have a keratinous sheath for. And the exquisite preservation of these two claws are shown in this close-ups here. I mean, look at that. It is spectacular. You can see how it was in the ground. It was found with the sheath completely intact. Amazing, unbelievably cool find. Now, we move on to Huayracursor. Not sure if I said that right, but it is named by Hecklenleiter et al., which apologies, I don't know if I got that one right. But this is a late Triassic Argentine sauropodomorph, and it's a really nice skeleton. They've got a little bit of the skull, they've got most of the neck, a bunch of the dorsals, complete hind limbs. Unbelievably cool. So this paper is important because of the age of this animal and the size of this animal. It weighed over 20 pounds, which made it a giant dinosaur in its era. It was over 4.5 feet long. And what's interesting is its age. It's somewhere in this 212 plus or minus 7 million, but that is the age of the basalt. It was about 600 meters below the basalt, and their estimates push it to 230 million years old. Now, a 230 million year old 20-pound dinosaur is a big deal, and that's why this paper is so prestigious this year, is they found a very large dinosaur in the very beginning of the dawn of the dinosaurs down here in Argentina. I love this little view to show where it's at out in the wild. Now, I took the time to look at the vertebrae, and they don't figure. These are the two verts that they figure. You know, I'm a vertebra person, so I spent all my time staring at these figures. And one of the most important things about sauropodomorphs and sauropods is their long necks. And you get there by elongating your cervical vertebrae. And as such, what happens is we use something called an elongation index. We take the length of the centrum to the height of the centrum, and then we get a number for it. And this animal's number, its cervical 4, is 3.5. That's pretty long. That means it's 3.5 times long as it is tall. And it shrinks down a bit, and the 6th cervical vertebra to 2.8. And we know, because we have the skull atlas axis, we know the exact positions. So 2, 3, and 4, 4, 3, and 2. Beautiful, beautiful how this is done. This is some kind of a three-dimensional scan. And these are the photos of the actual bones. What I found interesting is macrocolumn, which is about 225 million years ago, so in theory 5 million years younger. Look at this, it's already jumped up to a much, much larger ratio of 6. So this, if the dates are right, within 5 million years, these sauropod lengths of the necks just started skyrocketing. Beautiful, but this is spectacular because it's so complete and it's so old. Now, I did take this paper apart because I wanted to see the elongation indices. You can compare it to Eoraptor, and you can see how much shorter its neck is. But here's something funny. Macrocolum, they only have one figure in the paper with numbers. But the problem is the question marks do exist. These other vertebrae are there. But Mueller et al. 2018 don't provide figures of them, and they don't give us measurements of them. So you can't tell from the photos they gave what the other elongation indices are, which was sad. And Mueller had a busy year in 2018. Good job, Mueller. They used this image for Burulestes, and 2.5 is what was put in the paper here. But the funny thing about this is these other vertebrae exist. So you could create, at least from put a line on it, and I probably should just to round that out. And then lastly, in this paper, they talk about Panphagia as C4. You can see up here in the chart, but it's actually should be C4 question mark because the Panphagia vertebra is not found in articulation, number one. Number two, my numbers that I crunched came out at 1.5 and they've got it at 1.1. So I'm not sure why my numbers using the measurements of Pamphagia differ, but this is called research. You read a paper and you don't accept everything for face value. You dig in. That's what researchers do. Taking all that aside, this was a really great find, a spectacular specimen that keeps pushing the age of my beloved long-necked dinosaurs back earlier and earlier in time. I love it. Manipulonyx, this one dropped literally right after Christmas. We're talking the end of the year, but it makes it into consideration because of how wildly cool the manipulate claw is. A variant of it all found this in the Late Cretaceous of Mongolia. It is an Alvarezsaur, the little tiny armed critters, and we'll take a look at that. It was found here in this beautiful swath of Mongolia. The specimen is currently housed at the Russian Academy of Sciences in Moscow. Now, there are elements outside of the limbs. I made the caudal vertebrae front and center much larger than the other parts of it because who cares about the non-caudal portions? Beautiful tail, but we're actually here to talk about hands. And blew my mind that they have lateral, palmar, and medial spikes. Those are the terms that the crew that described it used. It is incredible. Never seen them before outside of things like crested screamers, Lapland, the yellow birds in New Zealand, the $10,000 bird because they're protected and you get fined if you shoot them. Total aside, they have spikes, but check these out. I mean, look at this. They have a tiny claw on the third digit, and the fourth digit they assume had a claw as well. But the hypertrophy number 2 claw is giant. So it really has one big claw, the number 2, and then 3 and 4 are much tinier, but it has these other little spikes on it. Unheard of. Now, I added this dinosaur embryo and this explosion. This is an image in the paper, and they cite that the keel and the humerus allow the motions best to do this and not to dig. They are anti-diggers in their entire paper. No fossorial nature. I actually like the idea of these eating social insects that Longrich and Curry in 2009 proposed, carrying into termite mounds. These argue no, this is actually perfect to carry an egg. And they show the spikes. I made these all the same size to show you 1 millimeter is the scale bar. So these are tiny spikes on a tiny hand. But the thought that these authors come out with is that Manipulonyx is an egg eater. It's ovivorous, eating eggs. And it would run in at night and use these powerful long legs to sprint in and then grab an egg using the 3 spikes plus the 2 tinier fingers to pick the egg up, scoop it up, and then run for its life. And their argument that this is happening is the fact that they have eggshell is associated with 2 other specimens of Manipulonyx. And if you get a chance, watch the video I made, a long-form video on Manipulonyx. Suffice to say, I was enamored with this paper. I couldn't believe it came out. It was really cool. I enjoyed reading it immensely. But there's another contender, and that's Pulaosaurus. And I hope I said that right. Yang et al. Found this late Jurassic Neornithian. And Neornithians are really cool. They're the heterodontosaurids, the hypsilophodontids, the Ophnelia / drinker / Nanosaurus. They're these little tiny nondescript food for everyone dinosaurs. And this one is 28 inches long, preserved, and the tip of the tail's missing. Could have went out even that far. Who knows? These have long tails usually, but it's spectacular. And how neat is this to have found such a cool slab? And they found it up here in China, and this is the skull. It's crushed so flat, but the teeth are spectacular. The bones are amazing. They did a lot of great work. Even though it's crushed 2-dimensionally, they were able to extract a lot of fantastic data from this specimen. But the most important thing they did was they found the arytenoids, which is the cartilage at the back of the larynx. This thing had a voice box of sorts. Their hypothesis is this could make complex sounds like birds do today. Now, there's a lot of nuances to get into about syrinx versus larynx, and all of that. And that's not for this particular conversation. What is for this conversation, though, is they found a voice box. A Pinacosaur has a voice box. Now they have one here, this larynx. in a Neornithischian. And by the way, the Neornithischians are extremely rare in China. They're very common over here in the United States. They're all over Europe. But in Asia, they're extremely rare at this time period. But they found this specimen, which is just going to help us immensely. The specimen didn't just have a voice box. It had cololites, which is a colon fossil. These are plant seeds that were found inside the colon. When the animal died, it was preserved so nicely that remnants, the food that was in its colon, became a fossil. Now, they can't identify these plant seeds. They have been unable to thus far, but suffice to say, they were munching on plants, which is cool because you see those sharp teeth. Let's go back up and look at that real quick. And you look at some of these teeth, make you wonder what it was doing. A perfect hand, exquisite. Look at that. It's so adorable. It's so cute. I mean, these are centimeters, so you're talking about a really small hand and a perfect foot. And of course, a perfect tail. I mean, look, it's beautiful. Gorgeous specimen. I absolutely adored this specimen, and I'm an air sac Saurischia team all the time, but this one made me smile. So good on you. The last one we're considering alphabetically is Zavacephale, root head. And this was named by Chinzorig et al. Came out in, I think, September. And this is an early Cretaceous Mongolian pachycephalosaur. They have a beautiful skull, and they have a spectacular skeleton that goes with it. Now, this is the oldest pachycephalosaur ever discovered. It pushes it somewhere between 108 and 115 million years back. It's in the early Cretaceous. We need a bit better temporal constraints, and I'm sure they'll turn up over time. It's only 3 feet long or so. We're talking about a small, cute animal. It's the first hand of a pachy. We have gastroliths in this thing, and it has the total tail, which is really a big, big win for me. The dome is present, and that dome is pronounced, which means early on in the pachy's existence, the dome shows up. The skull itself is beautiful. They did a bunch of CT scanning, a tremendous amount of principal components analyses, volumetric analyses, histology on the skull and the tibia, and the histology showed that the dome was done growing more or less. That was the head you get. But the tibia didn't have an EFS, the external fundamental system, which meant it was still growing. So what this means is it hit sexual maturity, assuming that domes are tied to sexual maturity, and that's the going consensus for why you get all these cool cranial displays, before somatic, or the rest of your body's done growing maturity, which was, it's been thought that's happening, but now they have evidence, histological evidence. So the key takeaway, if you find a pachyderm, and there are lots and lots and lots of pachyderms of all different ages and times, and all the bones are fused and you're thinking you have an adult, aha, you might not, because Zavacephale shows the skull, at least in this species, it finished off its work of growing before the body finished off its growing. Super shocking. And they have this dome made mostly of, I believe it was the nasals and the frontals up front. So the pachy's dome, this dome is built slightly different than the more like Pachycephalosaurus, where the back half of the skull is all big and getting into it. So what a neat specimen. And why am I talking like that when I can show you the skull? Big giant eyes, supratemporal fenestra. This is a dorsal view. That's the nasal bone right here. That's the nasal bone here. So you can see the same. The hole, this is looking from above. This is the left side. This is the left side. This would have been mirrored if it hadn't been broken. And you can see that it has, well, you can't see them here, but it has 16 teeth in the maxilla plus premaxilla. Maxilla. Look at that sharp tooth. That'd just be frightening. And this actually has serrations on it. What was it doing? Was it biting and some kind of mate combat? It's quite possible. The dentary is spectacular. I mean, this thing looks like a cast. It looks artificial. And they did this beautiful view inside to show you that you can't see the most anterior tooth in this is hidden. But the first tooth you do see is very strong, robust, and sharp. And you can see how much thicker it is than all of the other teeth in the jaw. So it had a vicious bite. I certainly wouldn't have wanted him to snap by it. All right, we're at the tail. Tail's amazing. You can see all of these tendons, this myorhabdoid complex. There's this caudal basket that was present in the proximal caudals on other Mongolian pachyes. Doesn't seem to be present here, but you have these incredibly neat tendons running across. And so they zoom in here, and apologies because I'm working off of their figures, and these aren't the giant resolution I would love, but they're showing the orientation of tendons and where it's at in relation on the tail. Absolutely cool. Just a beautiful specimen. And there are 32 with a probable 33rd tucked in at the back. And as you see again, these myorhabdoid tendons, they're completely covering a lot of these vertebrae. So the tail of the Pachycephalosaurus has a tale to be told still, and I am eager to someday touch this specimen. If you all are looking for a tail person, I volunteer. It wasn't just the tail or a skull they found. They found gastroliths right inside, in between the left tibia and fibula. They find this clump, and it's estimated to have been, this is great, 83 grams, which is about 1.4% of the body weight, which, funny enough, people have done studies of modern extant archosaurs that have gastroliths, and about 1.5% of their body weight is made up of these stones. So this falls right in line. What was it grinding up with these? These edges were very sharp. It's unknown. Can't tell. Nothing was preserved, apparently. At least nothing that's come out yet. But super duper cool to see this particular animal with amazing preservation. So the Fossil Crates Dinosaur of the Year 2025, there's some strong contenders. And though I would love to give it to Astigmasaura, I can't. And that's unfortunate. And the Huayracursor was neat, but it doesn't make it either. How about Pulaosaurus? A beautiful specimen, but it's not going to win it either, though it's probably chirping angrily at me right now. Duonychus, so cool, so beautiful, unbelievably great work. But at the end, the winner is Zavacephale. Congratulations, Zavacephale, for the 2025 Fossil Crates Dinosaur of the Year. Oldest pachycephalosaur, beautiful dome, fantastic gastroliths, great tail. It's got it all. All of your other finalists, well-deserved. You really can't go wrong with any of these animals. They are all spectacular finds. 2025 was a wonderful year of dinosaurs, and I'm looking forward to 2026. So my name is Dr. Brian Curtis with Fossil Crates, saying I hope you enjoyed our 2025 Dinosaur of the Year. Looking forward to doing it again next year. Thank you kindly. Adios.